Okay, welcome back. I finally got all the parts in. It was kind of like Christmas in here yesterday. Boxes of new springs, new equalizers, new equalizer hangers, new bolts, new lower plates, new U-bolts. So now it's time to put it all in. So the plan of attack will be to first install the equalizer hanger, because I have to have that before I can start fitting all the other parts together. So I will get that into place, tack it up, and then attach the equalizer and the springs just to be sure everything fits the way it should before I make it official and weld that hanger plate in. So let's get going. So if you remember from part one, I marked out the center of my previous hanger. So this hanger is the exact same size, 5 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure over 2.5 inches this way. So that way, I'm going to clamp this plate to the outside of the hanger. So that way I can just stick it right up against the frame. So that way it is flush to the outside. And then I'll just line up my mark with this outside edge and tack it into place. So 2.5 inches over from my center. So there's my mark. I'm going to hold my plate tight. Be sure that hanger is tight on the bottom. Line up my mark. I'm going to use my knee to hold that up into place too. Make sure it's flush, flat, and give it a tack. And a couple more for good measure. Also important to note that you clean off the top of your hangers because they'll have mill scale on it. Don't want that there. Kind of an important part. Just to be sure that stays up there nice tight. And I'll tack 2 on this side, and that's be good enough for now. Okay, so with that hanger in place, now I'm going to put on the equalizer. Now the orientation of this is kind of important. You'll see the hole here and a hole here. Those will be for the eye sides of your springs. They will go the same way. You don't want them opposing or it won't work correctly. So be sure you get your orientation correct. Okay. Now I'm going to put the slipper side in first. It'll go above this tab on the bottom, and there's another tab right here. You can see the weld mark. So that slipper will go in between. Stick it in there. So articulate it all the way up and down to be sure we're not falling out, which we're not. So I'm happy with that placement. So now all there is to do is take it all back down and then weld entirely around the center hanger here. And then repeat those steps for the other side. Both sides are on, the springs are up, equalizer's up, everything is up. So now we need to take our spring center measurement. Spring center measurement is important because that is where the perches on the axles will sit. So these holes will sit down in between, or it'll circle around those little stubs. So to get that measurement, I'm going to take my tape, I'm going to reach over to the other stud, hook the outside of that stud. And then I'm going to read the measurement on the inside of this stud, which would be 46 and 15/16. Okay, so I'm hooked on the other side, and then I'm going to read the measurement to the inside. So there you can see it, 46 15/16. Don't forget that number because you will need it when we weld the perches onto the axles, which is what we're going to do next. Okay, now I'm going to measure for the placement of the perches. The perches will fit on the axle and they will face downward. And the holes in the perches will fit over the studs that are on the springs. It keeps it in place, and then you put the U-bolts over and it squeezes everything together. So it's important that we remember that measurement from earlier, which was 46 and 15/16. These holes are oversized, and I'm going to go to 47 just to make the math a little bit easier. I don't think a 1/16 of an inch is going to hurt anything. Now there is a correct orientation for the axle, and I'll zoom in on this in a minute, but there is a flat portion of the axle, and then the rest is round. There's also two little dust caps right here to give you access to the brake adjusting wheels. Those have to be down. So the flat side of the hub will be up. So what I'm going to do, set these aside just for now, and I'm going to take my laser. I'm going to set the back side of it right above this end of the bolt, and I'm going to shoot across to be right on top of that bolt. And I like to shoot it multiple times until I get a consistent measurement. 57 5/8 from this face to that face. So now we need to figure out how far to go from here to here to make these centered. So I'm going to take 57 5/8 less 47. Which gives me 10 5/8. So now I need to divide that by 2 because we're going to measure, we're taking half the distance on this side and half the distance on this side. So that will be 5 5/16. So from this face, I'm going to measure over 5 5/16, and I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to do the same over here. Right off that stud that is exposed, 5 5/16. So those will be where the center of that perch hole is at. So in order to verify this, I'm going to take my tape. I'm going to do what we refer to as burning an inch, because trying to, put it on the line with the end can be difficult. So I'm going to start at 1 inch. And in order for that to be 47, we should land at 48. And there we are. So that is 47 inches mark to mark. That is where the perch hole needs to set over. And that will give us a centered axle on the springs. So this is the view of the inside of the axle. This is the flat portion that I was talking about. So this will be up. Also, that huge bolt right there goes through and holds the shoes, the electric brake pad. So over to the one that I just measured, this is the bottom side. You can see the two dust caps for access to the brake adjuster. Here's my mark. Here is the stud where I put my laser right on top of that and shot to the opposite side. And then I also took my tape measure and measured from this face to here, 5 5/16. Exact same thing on the other side. So now I'm going to set the perches in place, And then we're going to find the area where I need to clean off down here. So that way I have a nice clean surface to weld these onto. And when I put these on, I'm going to look at my mark down the hole and center it up. And that's how it'll look when it gets welded on. All right, so I'm going to look down, center the hole with my mark. I'm just eyeballing it. These holes are oversized, so there is a little bit of play. And I'm going to take a level, and I'm going to run it crossway and get it so these perches are level on top, like so. So that way they are level with each other. One's not, you know, they're not offset. You don't want them to, I mean, they could be off just a little bit, but you don't want that one like this and this one over here. I mean, it's never going to lay flat on the spring. So do the same with this side, find my mark. That's good. So now that they're both level, I'm just going to make a mark here, the front and the back. So that way I know where to clean the paint off this axle. I'll tack it into place. And if you haven't guessed by now, because I don't want to do any rework, I'm just going to tack on both sides, and then I'm going to do a fit just to be sure that it is correct, because it takes you a heck of a lot longer to do rework than it does doing it right the first time. Okay, I have my marks. I'm going to take the perches off. You get the grinder with the flap disc, clean that off, tack them on, and then do a fit up. Okay, everything's cleaned off, so now I gotta reposition the perches. Okay, then tack them on. Let's go ahead and do a quick check fit. And if all is well, we'll weld them up solid, get them put in, and we'll be real close to being done. I just got this axle into place, and the test fit is good. So there you have the perch right over the spring center as it's supposed to be, and it is mated with that stub and the hole in the perch. The same thing goes for that side over there. Everything fit just the way I want it to. So I am happy with this. So now I'm gonna take it back out, weld the perch fully, and I also need to add a small piece of square tube on the top, so that way the electric brake lines can be routed through that to keep them protected, because Lord knows they'll encounter all kinds of debris and stuff that would be happy to rip it to shreds. Okay, I have my wire protectors cut. So I'm going to fully weld these perches, put on the wire guides, measure out, lay the perches, weld them, wire guide, then I'll roll these outside and just spray paint them real quick. So these will go right about there. I'm not going to weld a whole lot, just, you know, probably about 4 stitch welds on each side. Same as last time. Take my marks, 5 5/16, 5 5/16, check the fit, level off the perches, make my marks, clean them off, weld them on. Flip it over, wire guide. Take it off, clean them off, weld them up. Also, if you're redoing your axles, you can't have these perches come already put on your axle. You just need to know the spring center measurement, which we went over earlier, which is 47. So if you don't feel comfortable welding these, whoever you order your axle from, if you specify that information, they'll come already on there. Also a good time to check to be sure you got the right orientation. Flat sides are up, perch is down. We're good. now I'm going to connect the wires together just so I'm not doing it underneath. It's pretty simple. The wires that already come are out of the drums. So I'm going to strip this one down, and it should be important to know, I'm going to have the tags facing backwards, so that way you can easily read what kind of specs are on the axles. So this is my passenger driver's side. The electric brake line runs down the driver's side. So I am going to splice a wire through and bring it out so that way it meets up with the other side over here. And I'll do that for both. And then after the axles are in, I'll reconnect it to the trailer. So you just strip it down a little bit, twist those up. I love using heat shrink connectors because they actually hold after you shrink them, instead of just the crimp ones that are prone to coming apart and losing connection. So crimp them real good, and then I'm just going to kind of eyeball how much extra wire I need. I don't want to leave myself short. I just want to say about right there. And I'll take out 2 pieces of wire, 1 for each side. Here we go. So now I will splice these together, shrink them, then tape them just as another added piece, fish them through, and then they'll splice together with these, with this other side, and then I'll do the rest of the connections underneath. All right, let's roll these over and start hanging them. All right, everything was taken down, and you can see that I painted everything that I welded that was bare metal, new bare metal parts, and the equalizers too. So let's start by putting the equalizers up. And I'm only going to hand screw my hardware for the moment until everything gets in, and then we'll tighten everything down. That's good enough. Let me go to the other side, hang that equalizer. Really doesn't matter which side you start on first. I'm going to go with the front. I'm going to push it roughly into place. And I'm going to start over on the other side. I'm going to take a jack, and then I have to lift this side of the axle up so that way I can put the spring underneath it. So I'm going to fish that spring underneath, the slipper side in to the equalizer, and now put the eye side into the front hanger. There we go. And again, just finger tighten on the front hanger. And then I'm just going to eyeball it and push the axle back a little way so the perch is right over the spring. Start letting it down. And when it's on there, you can line it up, let it all the way off. So now the jack, don't need it anymore. I'm just going to push that over and drop the perch right over that stud. Jack this side up so it's high enough to get the spring in. Slipper side in to the equalizer. And then put the front eye into the hanger. Okay. Oop. Go. Okay. Front one is in as soon as I let it down and put it all in. Pop, there it goes. I made a little mistake. The spring of the U-bolt will come right here, and as you can see, I put that wire protector over too far. So I'm gonna have to go through and mark these out, cut them off the cutting wheel real quick, knock that off, and put another small little weld just on the ends. So bear with me while I make this quick repair. All right, I fixed my boo-boo here. So now I'm going to put the U-bolts on and put that bottom plate on and snug those down, because in order to put the back axle on, I'll have to lift the front axle to bring the equalizer down. It's just too high in the position it's at. So that way I can use that to level it off to make life easier. Push the other axle through. And I'm going to start on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to tighten these two bolts. I'm going to get on the inside so that way I can see how much thread goes through the nut. Now, you don't want to over tighten it, because if you do, the equalizer will just be pinched. So you're just going to tighten that just enough to squeeze that hanger plate to where it can still move freely, but the bolt goes through the nut enough to where it catches the locking mechanism in the nut so it doesn't back off. Okay, all of our bolts are tight. Now we need to reconnect the electrical brakes. Bring you under the trailer with me here. So there's how far of a stick out I have on the bolts. And so let's do the electrical. Okay, so I'm going to take this wire, this drum, the wire that goes from here, and then this is the main line that comes down from the 7-way pin. I'm going to tie all three of those together, and then we'll connect these together. We'll have to splice in a piece of wire there, and I might have to put a little hanger right up here. Just okay, I finished up the wiring. I put wire wrap around the yellow, so I'll give you a close-up view of everything. Zip tied the wire off to the U-bolts, to each other, taped them up real nice around the heat shrinks. I even zip tied it to that nut. Added the wire wrap over here too. And then I also put in another nut to zip tie it to, just to keep the wire from dangling down on the equalizer. So now we're going to test to be sure the connection is good with the trailer tester, put the tires on, and send this one out the door. I have the trailer tester hooked up, and the electric brakes are activated and they are working. As you can see, I can't turn it. And you can see that one locked up. The other side I've already checked too. They're locked up. So I'm going to go disengage the brakes and you'll hear them let loose as soon as I cut the power. You heard them release. Now they spin. Now they spin. Okay, so that is a successful reconnection of the electric brakes. Now, put the tires on, and we're finally done.
Unfortunately, my microphone cut off here and I didn't realize it. And I think I had a whole bunch of important things to say, but unfortunately I can't remember any of them. But as you saw, I just looked at my stopwatch, and I believe that the main takeaway was that the total amount of time invested in this project was just a little over 9 hours. I hope you enjoyed watching. I appreciate you tuning in.